Apparently your Whoop wristband can now tell you how old you really are. Not your birthday age, but your biological age, or what Whoop has started calling your effective age. Now at first glance, that sounds like a bit of marketing hype. A strip of fabric and some sensors on your wrist claiming to know whether you're aging quickly or slowly. But that pretty much is what Whoop's new Healthspan feature promises. Two numbers, Whoop age and pace of aging, updated every day, right there next to your strain and sleep scores. So how does it work? Well, for a long time now, epidemiologists have shown that the things we do every day, how much we move, how well we sleep, how strong our heart and lungs are, all shift our risk of disease and death. Smoking doubles it, a high VO2 max halves it, a higher resting heart rate pushes it up a little. Whoop's move is to apply those risk ratios across 8 domains: sleep, both duration and consistency, daily steps, time spent in heart rate zones, weekly strength training minutes, VO2 max, resting heart rate, and lean body mass. Each one becomes an age delta. Add them together and you get Whoop age. Track how those deltas shift over a rolling 30 days and you get pace of aging, a slope of your overall biological age trajectory. So basically, if your physiology looks more like someone 10 years older, your Whoop age inflates. If you're fitter and more consistent, it shrinks. That's the idea anyway. What's distinctive here, what separates Whoop's approach from the research, is that reference point. Whoop isn't comparing you to the average population, which, to be honest, is dragged down by poor health and sedentary habits. The benchmark is an optimized individual, someone meeting the guidelines for sleep, for activity, and cardiovascular fitness. Only if you hit those marks does your Whoop age equal your chronological age. Miss them and your years add up quickly. There's some statistical elegance behind this too. Because many of these metrics overlap, resting heart rate and VO2 max, for example, are closely related, Whoop uses structural equation modeling to tease apart the web of variables. Think of it as a way to see which threads are pulling hardest, rather than just piling scores on top of one another. That's more sophisticated than a lot of consumer wellness tools. But the approach isn't perfect either. The translation from those risk ratios to an increase or decrease in projected years relies on what's known as the Gompertz law, the idea that mortality risk rises by roughly 10% each year after early adulthood. That's broadly true, but it's not universal. So for example, 1,000 extra steps means more for a 70-year-old than for a 30-year-old. And a low resting heart rate would signal resilience differently in men and women. So even though they've tried to incorporate some nuance in their calculations, Whoop's adjustments are still just broad strokes. Then there's the issue of the illusion of precision. The app serves up Whoop age down to the exact year. It presents pace of aging to the decimal point. But behind the scenes, every risk estimate carries uncertainty. It carries confidence intervals, measures of precision. Whoop doesn't show this. The output feels precise, but it's really a stack of estimates built on top of other estimates. If anything, the error margins are probably really wide. And then validation is another open question. Whoop's underlying risk ratios come from large population studies, but they calibrate their models on their own member base, who, as you'd expect, tend to be healthier and wealthier than the general population. So whether the numbers hold in broader, more diverse groups is unproven. But it probably doesn't. Still, I wouldn't dismiss it entirely. It's not as if this is pseudoscience. The reframing is actually clever. One of the reasons healthy behaviours are so hard to stick with is that their benefits are invisible in the moment. A good night's sleep doesn't come with a receipt. A run doesn't have any tangible payoff tomorrow or next week. It takes time to show the fruits of your labour, and Whoop is trying to collapse those timescales to turn decades-long benefits into daily feedback in a language people can immediately feel. That immediacy may be its biggest gamble. If the numbers are well calibrated, they could make Healthspan a tangible daily project rather than an abstract actuarial concept. If not, they risk creating false reassurance in some and unnecessary anxiety in others. At the end of the day, Whoop isn't predicting your lifespan, it's dramatizing risk. It's taking the probabilities that epidemiologists work with and packaging them as the age you really are. That's not a diagnostic truth, but it is a narrative, and narratives, if done carefully, can be powerful enough to change behaviour.